Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on where you are in the world viewing this. This is Neil Archer. Welcome to Florida Living with Neil Archer. This is going to be a weekly show that I'm going to bring to you every Friday. And we're in Florida. Florida's a fantastic place. We live in a fantastic place in the world. Florida has everything. It has the weather, it has the ocean, it has the beaches, it has the boating, it has an abundance of golf courses. And I particularly feel that being in Palm Beach County and the Treasure Coast, we're in the best of the best here. You really can't do better than being in Florida. So over the next few weeks, I'm going to be bringing you a show every Friday, which is going to be everything real estate, your real estate source on the Treasure Coast and Palm Beach County. And we're going to be going into all kinds of different subjects as to how we can benefit you as a seller or as a buyer. And believe me, the contract is Florida. It's amazing when I see people that come from out of state and they see the Florida contract is big. It's a long contract, and it's very important that you have an agent that knows the contract and knows how to be able to get you through the contract to the final end. And hey, voila, you have that agent right here. Financing contingencies, unless you're paying cash, you need financing. Which brings me to my first guest, Mark Daly from Group 1 Mortgage. How are you?
Good morning. Thanks
Welcome.
for having me.
You're welcome. So
You hit the big time now.
I'm at the big time. I'm going to build you up a little bit because as a buyer, you're working with buyers. You know, I try and get the buyers to use my preferred lender, and you. Not only do you get the lender to get the buyer to get to the closing line, and we get the deal closed, but they also tell me about how fabulous you are and how your team is. And I'm going to mention something. A few months ago, we had a seller, and I had a listing, and we had a listing on the market, and it was under contract, and 33 days into the deal, we got a denial letter. Remember that one?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
33 days, which is the worst thing for a seller. It was horrible for the buyer. The buyer didn't come through me, it came through another agent. But the day that we got the denial letter was the day that the seller got their pod delivered on their driveway. It was an absolute nightmare. And I got the seller, or the seller's agent, to get the seller to come and talk to you. And what happened?
Yeah, I remember that one now. You bring back some sleepless nights. But
I know.
It was a Friday night, I think you called me.
It was a Friday night,
Yep.
yeah.
And the long and the short of it, it was a challenging situation. And
Yeah.
it was a situation that at first I really wasn't sure whether I could be the hero or not. Without going into all the details,
Right.
It was one of the most difficult loans scenarios that I've heard in a long time.
Yeah.
And actually, because it was late on the Friday, we really couldn't get the answer until probably the following Monday, once we were open and we could talk to the underwriter and so forth. But it was one of those scenarios where the lender denied the loan. The underwriter said it was a guideline issue. And normally with guideline issues, everybody has the same guideline. So if one lender can't do a loan because of a guideline challenge, then probably nobody can do it.
Right.
But in this case, there was a little bit of a gray area on that guideline. And as it turns out, that borrower did meet the guideline. It's just that the interpretation from that particular underwriter that denied that loan, in my opinion, kind of read a little bit too much into the guideline. Whereas we were able to interpret it the right way in this case and get it done.
I remember you called me on Saturday night. I remember throwing a party and you couldn't make it because it was like Sunday morning. You said, the buyer's meeting me at 10 o'clock on Sunday morning.
Yes.
And it was the first introduction of, okay, let's sit down and so not only do you get to the finish line, with buyers that, are pre-qualified and pre-approved, but you sometimes can take deals like that have been denied by another lender and say, okay, this is it. We're going to make this happen. And man, that was a deal and a half. It really was.
And it really took teamwork. One advantage we have at Group 1 is we're a direct lender and we have our own underwriters in our own building, and which is a real luxury to have because normally you have to ship a loan out and have an underwriter look at it, and that could take a week to 2 weeks to gather everything that you need.
Wow.
But in this particular situation, because we have access to the underwriter, we could actually get an answer that following Monday, which was a great thing.
Awesome. So let's talk about people that come to us and they want to buy, because I get emails, phone calls from agents all the time. From buyers all the time. I want to buy a house. Only a few days ago, I had somebody email me, send me houses in Port St. Lucie with a big garage. Where do I start, And then you have other people that say, I want to spend $400,000. They pin themselves into this little box. And to be frank, if I work with a buyer and we see a house that they like and we go and put an offer in, I have nothing to put an offer in with whatsoever. So pre-approval, absolutely imperative, And I say to all of my buyers, okay, how much can you spend? And most answers are, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's when I bring the buyer to you and I introduce them to you. So pre-approval versus pre-qualification, what's the difference?
Well, a pre-qual is really just a watered-down version of a pre-approval. And really the main difference is the amount of information that you're taking from the borrower and the amount of steps you're taking to assure that that loan is actually qualified, and also what the buyer's true buying power really is. And just to give you one simple example that most people can relate with is credit score. When you ask someone on a pre-qual, you're asking someone what their credit score is. And a lot of times customers are going back maybe 2 years to the last time they bought a car or something.
Yeah. They can remember
2 years
what
ago
their credit score was.
Whatever it was. One other thing today, which is kind of a recent phenomenon, is a lot of customers have those credit karmas on their phones. So actually they have somewhat of an idea of what their credit score is according to Credit Karma.
Right.
But even Credit Karma, I've had many scenarios where someone will be in my office, I'll ask them what their credit score is, they'll pull it up on their phone, but then we'll actually run the credit and it's 50, 80 points different. So even those apps aren't always accurate.
Right.
And so a pre-qual, you're asking someone what they think their credit score is, either from their recent memory or what the app says it is. Whereas a pre-approval, you're actually pulling the credit.
Okay.
And not only is it the score, but there's also the assets, the liabilities that are on their credit report, whether they've had any type of derogatory credit of any sort. And then on a pre-approval, you're taking all the information on the loan and you're running it through an automated system that's analyzing the actual credit to determine whether somebody's credit worthy. And that's really the big difference, and it's really a night and day difference between asking someone to score and actually having somebody analyze the credit score and make a finding on that.
Right. So when people come and see you, do they have kind of a figure in their mind about how much they can spend when they walk through the door?
Kind of. What most people have an idea of is what they want their monthly payment to be. So a lot of times what you're doing is you're kind of working the loan backwards, where you're asking someone what they want their total monthly payment, including everything, and then you're kind of working everything backwards. But in Florida, you take a look at just one of those variables, which is the homeowner's insurance. It can really vary depending on how old the house is, what type of roof it has, what area it's in, and so forth. So when you're doing a pre-approval and you're analyzing something like insurance, really you're asking a lot of questions to the borrower: what type of house, what area, and so forth, to make sure that they can hit the number that they want to.
Because those payments, the insurance, the taxes, it all becomes part of the mortgage payment. So
Absolutely.
they have to know what they can spend. So very, very cool.
But yeah, most people they don't know what price range they want to buy the house, but they all know what they want that monthly payment to be.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
That's what they do know.
So now we've gotten to understand that we need a pre-approval in order to at least put an offer in on a house. So Mark, how long have you been doing mortgages?
Since 2003.
How many changes you seen?
A lot of changes. You mean just this year or
just
17 years, right?
Yeah.
A lot of changes.
Yeah. So listen, somebody that's renting a house right now. We've done a deal only a few months ago where we had a girl that was renting, and she was she put a post on a Facebook group that I'm in, and we picked it up and we ran with it, and she had no idea that she would be able to buy.
Sarah.
Yeah, Sarah.
Yes,
she was
yes.
fantastic, and
wonderful.
I introduced her to you. You did all the stuff. You told her what to bring in. So what does she have to bring in to see whether somebody can rent a house? Because 9 times out of 10, you're going to actually pay less for a mortgage than you are for renting, because renting is high here.
Yeah,
You know,
sure.
a landlord has property taxes and insurance to pay, and they need to make a profit, you know. So what did Sarah have to bring in order for you to be able to qualify her or pre-approve her to make this purchase?
Well, generally speaking, the main thing you're looking for is a 2-year history of income. And, you know, everybody's circumstances are different in life, but you're going to need 2 years of stable income in a similar profession. And what we're going to require is a couple years of tax returns in most cases with W-2s or 1099s, depending on how you get paid, recent pay stubs. And really what you're looking for is stable income that's not variable. And for example, you know, some people are on a base salary and then they're also commissioned. Some customers have overtime, tips, things like that. So that's why the pay stubs are important, because we can kind of break out their base income from the variable income.
Right.
And then also the 2 years tax returns are important, because sometimes people write things off, especially 1099 employees. But even sometimes W-2 employees will have unreimbursed expenses, and which minimizes the usable income. So that's why it's important that when someone comes in, they bring in everything that they have, so that we can analyze it and, you know, make sure that we're giving them the maximum buying power that they have available.
It's awesome. And I know that when we actually closed that deal, she was absolutely overjoyed. It was like, we have some fabulous success parties, you know. We have celebrations when we close these deals, and that was a good one. You know, because she really was in a situation where she was, you know, she thought she'd be renting forever, you know, and she came to me, and then I came to you, and then together, you know, we made this thing work, and it was just a fabulous success story for her.
Well, I think we all get into this business to help people fulfill the American dream. I mean, that's really what it's all about.
There's nothing like it when you see somebody realize something that they didn't think was possible.
Well, and you're really just you know, making their dreams come true in a sense.
Yeah,
you
you
know,
are.
which is a great thing.
Yeah, you're awesome. I tell you what, we've done some great deals together, and
you're awesome too.
Awesome working with you. How do people contact you?
Well, the best way is my direct number, which is my cell phone, which is 561-252-0346. And I work at Group 1 Mortgage. I've been there for a little over 11 years. It's a local lender in Jupiter, right on Indiantown Road.
And believe me, when you're working with a buyer and you send off an offer with a local lender, it speaks volumes. You know, those agents are much more likely to take an offer on somebody who they know and they've worked with in the past. Thank you, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
You.
Thank you. We'll see you next week, guys.